is out of Australia. She handles the better part of the world. So anything outside of North America, Priscilla handles. My name is Bobby Forrester. I am with BlackCompass. I also am with a company called SharePoint Wow. And I am here in North America in Atlanta. On top of that, here we have the genius down under. Sen Wu himself is with us.
Hello,
Sen,
everyone.
would you like to say hello and give us a little background on yourself and what made you found this this awesome software in this company?
Oh, sure. Okay. Thanks, Bobby. Look, we started in myself. I have been around SharePoint since 2007, and before that, I was a developer, so mostly from a development background. So we started BlackCompass in 2009 to be a dedicated SharePoint company, and we have done a lot of consulting projects here. But in 2012, when we knew there's going to be a SharePoint App Store, we got really excited. And at the time, some new technologies are coming on, HTML5, CSS3, and we really wanted to build an app that's easy enough to be used by everybody in the data visualization space for SharePoint. So in the time span of 2 years, we invested heavily into this app, and we still continue to do so. Yeah, I'll leave Jeff to demonstrate, but we really wanted to build easy to use apps for the end user, for every business user, not just the developers and IT professionals. And it has been growing very rapidly over the last 2 years, and we're excited to continue to work on this product.
Outstanding. Okay. Okay, before I introduce the SharePoint guru himself, and I know everybody's waiting for him, it's got to be a little drum roll there. Well, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick poll to engage everybody here. And if you can please answer this poll, I'd appreciate it. What version or versions of SharePoint are you utilizing as we speak right now? Are you utilizing 2013, 365, 2010? Please click all of them that apply, and if you are using something 2007 or prior, maybe STS, that'd be horrible. We feel for you, or MOS. Let us know. Please go ahead and answer this poll. It'd be great. I'm going to wait till 90% of us get done voting before closing the poll. Right now we are at 84%, so we just need a couple more of you to go ahead and vote. We are at 88, and in about 10 seconds I'm going to close this poll. If everybody's voted, I appreciate it. And I am going to go ahead and close the poll and share the results with you. Okay, so it looks to me that, well, this is no surprise that the vast majority of you are on 2010 or 2013. You may be surprised, as I was just about 6 months ago, as I have seen just an incredible increase in the usage of Office 365, even in large, very large corporations and multinational enterprises. And we're not just talking about divisional implementation. So it's really seems to be a big trend. But it's good to see that most of us are on either 2010 or 2013. With that, I'm going to go ahead and close this poll. And I'm going to introduce you to Jeff Webb. So, Jeff, you know, you're well known these days as the SharePoint guru. And why don't you tell us just a little about your background and a little about SharePoint experts?
Well, thank you, Bobby. I appreciate that. And thanks for the very overwhelming introduction. I don't call myself a guru, but I think you remember I say guru stands for good understanding, relatively useless. That's our local joke when somebody uses that.
All right.
I tried to discourage that. So SharePoint experts, I started with Robert Manfredi 2 years ago. We've had some good success doing consulting projects for the federal government and some large commercial firms. Recently, we're growing. We've just added a couple more people this week. So you know, we've had a really good time in space for the last couple of years. I started with SharePoint like Sen back. Actually, WSS2 was my first project, so that was about 2004. back when it was part of the Windows operating system. It was a great free product. It was a way for people to really empowered users and small businesses to start setting up their own websites. It's one of the things I still really like about SharePoint, and one of the reasons why we like Office 365. It's a very empowering tool. And when Bobby got me in touch with BlackCompass, I was very impressed by their tool as well and how easy it was to get started. That's why I'm excited to be here today, and I'm glad everybody's joined us here. I see we have good attendance. So if it's okay with you, Bobby, I'm going to kick it off. Is that all right?
Yeah, I would like to mention that if everybody will please look up in the upper right-hand corner of their screen, you will see a control panel. And we already have about 50 on right now. Well, let's see, we have about 40 on right now. We're expecting around 60 today. We had over 100 register, so we expect quite a few here today. But we have turned off the raise your hand type option, but you can ask questions, and we really want you to ask questions. We want you engaged, as much engaged as possible. We have Sen Wu in the background and Priscilla Javon. They're both answering questions as we go about this webinar. And of course, we will stop probably in about 45 minutes to start answering. We will have a Q&A session when all is said and done here. So with that, please ask questions utilizing that upper right-hand control panel. We really encourage you to do so. We will answer every question that comes in. So with that, go ahead and move forward, Jeff.
All right. Well, thanks and welcome again. And I appreciate you taking your time to join us. So central problem in SharePoint, we hear this a lot. I got my data into SharePoint, but I want it to look great. And what people pretty quickly find is that SharePoint's great at collecting the data, but it falls a little bit short when presenting, especially with just the out-of-the-box tools. So you kind of have a couple choices when you get started. First off, Excel services, which is great, but it's limited graphically. It's a little bit more static. You have to know Excel to use it effectively. Next, there's JavaScript, which is incredibly powerful. You can basically do anything you can on a web page with JavaScript, but you need to be a programmer. So there's a technical hurdle. It's often a little bit slower to develop, and it's obviously it's more expensive because if you're spending your time or you're hiring somebody to do it for you. And so finally, you can use a third-party tool like BlackCompass, and I think that this is probably the best solution at this time, particularly for non-technical users, because it adds compelling, interactive, and live data visualizations. And I want to drill into those words just a little bit on this slide. They're compelling because they're animated, and we find that the visual interest of animations draws people in. It makes them much more interested on clicking on the graphic itself and visiting the page again and again to see the changes. They're interactive, and I mentioned that you can click on them. Well, you can click on them and get more information. You can drill into the graphics. You can zoom in to timelines and see more close-up what curves look like and get more information from the graphic itself just by clicking around. And finally, they're live. They represent live data. You don't have to refresh the page to get the new data. It just happens in the background asynchronously. You can set how frequently they update. The default's every 10 seconds. So you're getting the most recent information whether or not you refresh the page, which I think is a real differentiator in this case. So there's some things you need to know about BlackCompass right up front. One is that it's completely SharePoint based. It uses lists and libraries. The data is all stored in either a list or a library. You use views to control what data you're presenting from the list. So it's leveraging skills people already have. Most of the people that we work with are already pretty proficient at either creating new lists and libraries or using them. And if they are not, then there's good training available. There's a lot of reach back to others that can help them. So this is one of the real advantages of SharePoint is becoming a standard in business for collecting and disseminating data. Next, there's no server code. This is another big differentiator with BlackCompass. You don't have to install anything on your servers. You get it from the App Store. You can be a site collection admin and just get started right away. It's just a couple clicks, and we're going to demo that near the end of this presentation. This is a huge time and cost savings for a lot of businesses. They don't have to go through the change control boards, perhaps. They don't have to maybe set up a test environment and deploy the code and make sure it's not going to break anything. And updates come automatically through the cloud. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but we think that this is the wave of the future, and obviously Microsoft does too. Finally, it works on Office 365. We're big believers in Office 365 for any business under, we used to say 200, now I say 2,000 employees. Office 365 is a great cost-effective solution, but it also works on on-premise SharePoint. A lot of people are still on-premise, and on-premise makes sense in a lot of situations as well. We're not bigots about it. We work on both, but we tend to be really big fans of the cloud offerings because we see a large benefit to clients. So without further ado, I'm going to go to the demo. I'm going to go ahead and escape out of here. And this is our Office 365 site. Now, I said we're big fans. We eat our own dog food. We're big believers in it. You can see that we track our time off in our various meetings, including this webinar here on our Where's Waldo calendar. But one of the graphics here that's on the page is kind of our KPI for all my consultants. I want them to see how many hours we're logging every month. And so I've added this BlackCompass graphic right to our homepage so people can see that we've been trending up to 2,000. Now, I haven't filled it out for October yet because we haven't closed October, but we're doing all right. You can also zoom in on this graphic just by dragging down here on this this tool, and you can get, you know, more or less data as you want. Now, this is actually our graphic from the beginning of time, so the beginning of our business. You can see how we did. We started out with a small project at 500 hours a month, and now we're running almost a person year a month, which is kind of cool. Another area here that I'd like to emphasize is that I'm using data from another site. Here, this is we're in the process of doing our 2014 team reviews, and the first step in that is for everybody to fill out a survey. I've got this being tracked here, how many people have filled it out, how many of my employees have filled out their forms, and so I can follow up. When I see this number at 9, I know I'm ready to launch, and I can go have my meetings with my team, but we're still a few people shy there. So next, I'm going to go to my demo site, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the data behind all this. First, the graphics will refresh here on my dashboard. My point with that earlier graphic was that I can bring data in from a lot of different places. I can have a home page that has really great dynamic graphics like these that summarize quite a bit of data for people and show them the most important information right up front. And it can be a combination of text, it can be charts, it can be this interesting bubble graph, and I can do things like click on things. I can get the details on this particular list item just by clicking on it, and you saw that nice animation. These charts are also filterable, so if I want to remove some of the data by removing these offices, I can change the graphic just by clicking on it. Well, all this data is representing lists in SharePoint. So if I go to my 2014 award data, where this graphic's coming from, you'll see that there's quite a few list items here. This data was all brought in from a public data source here. This is our web service that we helped create at Department of Justice, Office Justice Programs. And we basically called this data in via an API and stuck it into this SharePoint list. And it has all the information of the awards that DOJ grants to various entities around the United States. That includes police agencies, research, various types of community policing. And I have another list here that I summarized the data in, and this shows each of the different offices. Now there's, I think, 7 total offices within Justice. that have different responsibilities. BJS is Bureau of Justice Statistics. COPS is what it sounds like. It's for providing benefits to police agencies. NIJ is the National Institute of Justice. These are all different offices within, and that's how we sort our data out within the Department of Justice. And you can see I've got the total awards for each year for the last 30 years here, all summarized here. And I'm going to go back to my home page and I'm going to explain how that relates to the page. So that first list I showed you is being summarized here in this text graphic. It's actually going and doing counts, and very quickly comes up with 2,300 data points that shows the different awards. It's updating. It's catching up. And you can see that it did an average here of about $500,000 per award, for a total award in 2014 of about $1 billion. So you get an idea of the scale of data that we work with here. This is on the high end of those scales. Generally, what we find is that to visually represent data, it's best to work with data sets of under 200 points, but I did want to show you that we can handle much larger data sets. These are both representing 2,000 items. So you've seen how the graphics look on a page. I'd like to show you how easy it is to create a new visualization of a list. And for that, I'm going to use this awards by year because it's got different series of data and a lot of different years. And so in order to do that, I just go here to the Items tab in my list, and I click Visualize, and that nice little colorful icon. And this is going to log me in. That's a little bit of a surprise. Let's see. Oh, it must have gotten logged out at some point. Let's go ahead and sign in. Well, thank you, Microsoft. Hopefully my license to Office 365 has not expired. That would be really embarrassing. And it's going to load the gallery for my application here. And these are the different charts that I can choose. I've got quite a set here in the gallery, as you can see, and we're going to show you each of these. But for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to use the line graph because it handles different series of data. And I'm going to walk you through what's important to know about BlackCompass. This is probably the only real tutorial you'll need for using BlackCompass. It's easy to use, so if you use this as a reference, it might be good in the future. So basically, I want to chart the data since 2000, and this is just a view of the list that I created earlier. I'm going to give the chart a name, Awards by Office since 2000. It's a pretty obvious title. And then this is where you set how frequently the data refreshes. You can turn off auto refresh if you don't want it to do that, but we're going to leave it at 10 seconds. And then the date time column in here is year, so I'm going to chart by year, and I want to show the total. And then in groupings, I don't really have that much in the way of groupings from that list. As you saw, I'm just going to select the same things here that I did on the previous page, and then I'm going to click OK. And so it's going to visualize that data. So it went to SharePoint, it grabbed the data, and it created this nice little line chart. Now I said I could create additional series for this, so I'll show you adding series to a line chart. I just click on the Open Configuration there, and then on the Data Series tab, I can just add a few series. And I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to add 5 new series, and I'm just going to quickly configure them all to be the sums of different columns. Here. Just takes me a second. And now each office, I'm going to use BJA for the first office. I'm going to use BJS for the second office. And I happen to know the different offices that have more awards. NIJ is a generous office, OVC, OVW, not to slight the other offices. It's just that there's a bunch of them. And then I set the colors for each office. And pastel colors tend to be popular, so I'm going to choose some nice looking what I consider to be pastel colors. Let me find a green. I'm not going to make them too jarring. Nice gray, and let's see if I can get another good one. I kind of like that green. I kind of like that green. I'm going to just stay with that. And I could, delete these or move them around or whatever I want to. But if I want to see what it looks like, I just click Apply Configuration, and it's going to refresh the graph. And you see I have this key down here. This is my filter, and this is the little control bar that I can zoom in on things. And I can go ahead and open this configuration. I can play with this some more. I can change the visual range. I'm going to start from 0. I'm going to go ahead to filtering. Now, if I wanted to filter this additionally, from the data I'm bringing in from the view, I could come in here and say, hey, I really only want the values since, say, 2008. I'm going to do middle of 2007 just because that's easy, and I'm going to apply this. And this is kind of interesting because in this case, let's see. Oh, I said equals. I did it wrong. I need to say greater than. And you can see how you can work this out. And this actually indicates that there was a lot of stimulus money spent in 2008. I think most Americans remember that. And it's trailed off since then. That little spike there generally gets people's attention there, but it was trying to get the economy running again here. But I said since 2000, so I'm going to remove that because I want to have the full data. And the other thing I like to mess with here in the configuration is the line shape, and I like to use basis. I'm going to go ahead and apply that because it's a nice smooth shape, and it's kind of a little bit different. It kind of gets people's attention. You can still hover over and get the actual data points. If you want to add legends to it, you can actually add the little data dots, apply that, and it adds the actual numbers right on the chart. But I tend to think that looks a little bit busy, so I'm going to take those back away. So you can do a lot of different things here. This is the master band, is that section down here for zoom. I like to leave that on charts, and I'm just going to go ahead and apply that. So now that I've created this chart and I've got it the way I want it, I'm going to go ahead and save it. And saving it means that it's stored in the system. I can come back to it later. I can make changes. And then I'm going to publish. And publishing makes this chart available to others in a gallery. So others can bring it in, or they can basically come into this tool and use it directly from here. But since this is SharePoint, we like to stick things on web pages in SharePoint and kind of bring together data from a variety of places. So in order to do that, I want to copy the URL for this chart, and then I'll stick it on a page somewhere else. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and then I'm going to control-click back to SharePoint to open up my site again in a new tab. So I'm going to show you how to add this to a web part on the page. I'm getting a little bit of feedback on the line, so I think, Bobby, you might need to mute. I'm not sure. And I've already set up a new page here. This is a wiki site, so I just created a new link here. And I'm going to click on that, and it's kind of a blank page. Should open. And I'm going to edit the page. And I'm going to stick an app part in it. So I'm going to go Insert, App Part. And there's the BlackCompass Visualizer app part. And I'm going to add it. And when this comes up, it's going to give me a box to paste that URL into. So it's just a matter of pasting that chart in there, Control-V, and then loading the graph. And there you go. So that's pretty cool, but the size is a little bit small, so let's make it a little bit bigger. We've got these nice big screens now. And so I'm going to edit the web part. And this is just a standard SharePoint web part. So I'm going to make it 1,000 pixels high. And maybe, missed a 0. And maybe 1,200 pixels wide. That seems to be a good size. Let's take a look and see what that looks like. Click Apply. It's going to refresh the page. All right, that looks good. I like the way that fits. And so I'm going to go ahead and close the web part properties. And then I'm going to go down below here because I promised you this was dynamic data, and I already stuck a little web part here on the page already that has a view of the list. It's just a data sheet view of this list. I need to restore that part, and I'm going to go ahead and save this page. And this will let me change some of the data on in the background list here using the data sheet view without having to navigate back and forth or split screen or anything like that. So there you see the chart, and I'm going to go ahead and copy a few years. I'm not going to worry too much about the accuracy of the data. I'm going to go ahead and grab these 3 rows here. I'm going to copy them to the clipboard. Control C, allow access, and then I'm just going to paste them down here at these last 3 rows. Actually, I don't want to grab the dates. I want to grab a subset here. I want to grab those 3 rows, Control C, and then I'm going to paste them here. And you can see that this data is incomplete, so it'll fill it in. And then, I'm having a little bit of a refresh problem here. Let me go ahead and see if I can retry those changes. Input string, it grabbed the wrong thing. Okay, escape. Let's see. I'm going to, it grabbed it from the wrong section, so I'm going to go ahead and refresh and just discard that.
No worries, Jeff. If something didn't go wrong, it wouldn't be a webinar. But, hey, do me a favor. Let me know what a good time for that next poll is.
Okay, let me just get through this a little bit here, and then I'll let you go to the poll. I'm going to go grab the years from, these are pretty, oops, got a little display. So I'm not going to grab the year this time. I'm just going to grab these 3. That'll make it 4. Control C, and then I'll paste them into these 4. And it's going to overwrite that data. And when I click on a new section here, it should magically change the numbers. It takes it, well, I told it to wait 10 seconds to update, so it should change.
Unmuted.
Yeah, sorry, Jeff. I think your changes didn't go through.
No, they didn't. They didn't
Yeah.
get it. Yeah, it's still stuck in the clipboard. Wait. I've been having a little trouble with my my controlled clicking here. All right, let me get it again here. So I'm going to grab these 3. Control C. And then, okay, it took it that time. And so in just a few seconds, it's going to change the curve dynamically. And the cool thing about this is you could have a visualization representing, say, the number of support tickets that you're taking in and resolving on a page, and then on your dashboard you could have a very dynamic update of the data that's engaging. And I'll show you a little bit more later on with that. But Bobby, now's probably a good time to go ahead and do another poll before I go and show you some of the other chart types.
Okay, sounds good. So if you can all let us know here, I'm going to go ahead and open this poll. I can find it here, sorry. There we go. How's your company currently graphing and charting in SharePoint or Office 365? Please, if everybody can answer the poll, it would be great. Right now we are at about 30% who have answered. I'm going to wait till we get to 85, 90%. And we are coming up on 50%. So if you haven't answered the poll yet, please go ahead and click all that apply. Or just click one of them. Sorry, I've got the only select one on there. So how is it you mainly chart and graph in SharePoint or Office 365? All right, we're at about 80%, so I will leave this up for about another 15 seconds. If you haven't answered yet, please do so. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. And I will go ahead and share the results with you. And it looks, just as expected for me, the majority of you do utilize Excel services, or you develop it in-house, or a lot of you just don't do it. So anyway, we appreciate you answering, and Jeff, why don't you go ahead and continue.
Sure, Bobby. Thanks a lot. And that kind of confirms what I see is a lot of people with Excel services or in-house dev, and that's kind of what we wind up doing a lot. And since this has been out, we're pretty excited about it. I'd like to show you some of the other chart types and what you can use them for. So in this case, we have award data, grants that are issued to various entities, and then the amount that they spend, the document balance in this case. And here it's an area chart shown for 2014. Basically, it shows the burn rate for things, and when you hover over an item, you get both data points from the graph. You can see the document balance, and it's just kind of a way of visualizing differences between things with an area. The bubble chart is a nice way to show a data point based on size or weight. In this case, this is the size of the awards in Tennessee. You can see that Nashville's sort of the winner overall in the area. There's a little bit of money given out to Memphis and Murfreesboro. Again, this is filterable. You can change it around. It's kind of a nice little dynamic chart, and you can change the colors or whatever you want to do with that. What you display in these labels is up to you. I just chose to show it by city here. Gauges, of course we have gauges. We've got a nice new ruler gauge that they added about 2 months ago, and of course the dial gauge that most people are familiar with for dashboards here. You can show that you've got color ranges for those graphs. These are basically just summarizing one data point for 2014 totals. Histograms or bar charts are a way to represent a bunch of data similar to a line chart, the kind of data you might show on a line chart with multiple series. Here we've got the very kind of similar data for 20 years of funding by program. Again, you can filter out things just by clicking on them, removing the item or adding it back in. And this shows the different offices, levels of giving. Again, you can, click on things to get the data to come out. The Item Explorer is a really interesting, kind of unique graphic. You can use this to visualize numeric data, or you can use it to represent some text data in a list. I think that we had a need a while back to show training programs, and obviously these are grouped by city. Here, this is similar to the bubble chart that we showed. You could have lanes of activity, different expertise, and what the training plan is. These can all be set into different orders, and again, you can drill into the data. I think this is a really interesting way of representing data, and of course it works with numeric data, but you could do some really creative things with this. The line we've already taken a look at. I'm going to show you the Google map. Of course, awards are given out to different regions, as I showed you with what we charted by state. These are the awards issued in Oregon. Again, it's a list view that's filtering this behind the scenes, and then the data comes live from the list. The size of these bubbles is the size of the award, and in this case, the legend on each one of these, or the label, is who's responsible for the award on in that region. So this is actually a real business need that they have at Office of Justice Programs. They go out and they audit these awards, and when they travel to an area like Portland, they want to see what is close by so they can visit other regions. And the auditors are generally specific to an office, so they can turn off the offices they're not interested in and look at the office that that they're auditing for and see who they need to call when they're in an area. It's kind of a really cool application. No charting tool would be complete without a pie chart, and we have pie charts. This is a pretty big one, so for visual impact. And this is just summarizing awards by office in dollars. And you can drag these labels around. You can actually, one of the things that we find people do if they want to use this in a Word document or a PowerPoint, they'll come in, they'll see the latest data, and they'll just use a snipping tool like Windows snipping tool, and they'll just come in and grab it like that. They'll get it looking the way they want to, and then they'll just take a screenshot of it and then stick that right in their document. It's a really quick way for them to get results that are current. The radar graph is a really interesting graph that shows approach to a target. And in this case, this is dummy data, but in this case we've got a target of $4,500 as a giving target for a department. And you can see the Office of the CIO is ponied up. He probably set the goal, and then he probably immediately met it. But he set it for other departments. The size of these bubbles in this case is set to the head count of the department. So this is conveying a couple different interesting points of data, how generous a department is and how many employees it has. You can see HR is a big giver. Engineering salaries might be a little bit higher there. They're giving this amount. You can actually open up the SharePoint item right from the graphic, and it'll open it up, and you can edit it or change the data if you want to. But this is a nice dynamic data. I think you could do a really interesting project for your kids' science if they were studying the planets with it. You could have a nice dynamic solar system going on here. Timelines are another useful representation for project tracking. In this case, awards for grants have a start and a stop date. You see quite a bit of information conveyed here for projects here in Tennessee this year. Again, you can filter out items and just look at just the ones for OJJDP here, get the details on that, and see what the schedule is for that project. It's a good way to summarize a whole lot of data really quickly. And again, you can also zoom in. This is a case where the master bar is nice because you could zoom in and get more detail over a region of time. And you could put your whole project plan up here in SharePoint if you wanted to. Tree maps, again, are sort of a unique graphic based on rectangles, based on the size of one variable. Here again, we used the awards in Tennessee, and the size of the rectangle is the size of the award, and they're color-coded by office. These numbers here that I used for the labels are meaningful at OJP. They kind of live and die by these award numbers, and you can see they use them as the title. So that's key to them, and each business will have different information that they want to show there. It's just completely up to the business. And then finally, I'd like to come back to the universe graphic that we saw at the beginning of our deck. And this is a little bit different take on it, where it's split into two different groupings. So OJP gives out money as outright grants, but also as cooperative agreements. So the data is categorized that way. And this kind of splits it up into two nice regions. You could have 4 different categories of information if you wanted to. More than that, it starts to get a little bit busy, but you can certainly get the feel for what you need to. And again, this is dynamic. This is kind of a really cool change you can make, during a demo or something. If you change the data, it'll actually jump from one of the regions to the other just spontaneously. You could have somebody in the background while you're doing your demo changing things for what if, what if we move this over here? What if these numbers increased? You could see the data changes, and we've got this nice drag tool in SharePoint to take advantage of it and change a whole bunch of data points there, just for a nice little visualization dynamically. I kind of like that. It's just, I get a kick out of it. I think everybody likes this graphic best. Finally, I'd like to walk you through a little bit more about the gallery and where you store your graphics in BlackCompass. They're all right here. You can open this up very easily from a link, like I did. And then the graphics that you save are right here in My Graphs. You can see, I recommend that you come up with some kind of naming convention to use and fill out descriptions, because you'll find that you quickly get a whole lot of them, and it's hard to remember which one was which. Sometimes it's good to have useful names. You can open them right from here just by clicking on the the icon, and it'll open in the designer. And like I said before, a lot of people work directly out of here. They don't necessarily want to bring them in as web parts on the page. This is their data visualization tool. And once they get good at using the configuration here and setting filters and things like that, they can actually do some pretty simple data analysis right here. And again, they can save that graphic out for use later. The published graphs is interesting. This is the gallery of things that everyone has contributed to this site, and it's sort of like MyGraphs, but it's for everybody. So you can find the new ones, and you can manage them here. You can delete them. You can open them in a new tab to check out what they are, and it's just part of the maintenance. So I said I was going to show you how to install the product, so I'm going to go to that part now. I'm going to go back to SharePoint, leave the gallery.
And before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys, now we are not at all done here with the webinar, but if you can please do me a favor and let us know exactly how to follow up with you, I would appreciate it. Oops, wrong poll here. Hang on a second, guys. Oops, hang on. That is the wrong thing. I'm sorry. Please let us know how to follow up with you. And please click one of these. I'd appreciate it. That way we're not spinning your wheels and burning your cycles. So let us know. If you need me to get a hold of you right away, I will. I'll give you a call tomorrow. It could be next week. Could be November.
What about Thanksgiving? Are you working Thanksgiving, Bobby?
I am working the day before Thanksgiving. You know, if I need to work Thanksgiving for somebody, you know what? I will do so.
That's your kind of dedication.
It's just the kind of guy I am. Yeah, you're right. So far, about 65% of you have voted. Please let me know how to follow up with you, and I'd appreciate it. It certainly will help out a lot. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close that poll. Thank you very much for letting me know. And go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, so say you want this today. You can get it. All you have to do is go to your site, and you just can click up here, add an app. So this is 1 click, 2 clicks, count, keep me honest, 2 clicks. Here, once you're at your apps, you click the SharePoint source, so I'm up to 3 clicks. And you have to scroll down a little bit, and it's right there, so that's 4 clicks. That's pretty good. So it'll just install right from here if you click Add It. Now I've already added it to the site, so I can't add it again. But once you click on Add It, it will add the latest version of the visualizer to your SharePoint site. Now this is licensed by your URL. So in this case, I'm licensed for all of SPX Team. Here I can get to the beginning of that. I'll highlight. It's available in our site. It's available for all of these URLs, and you get 30 days free with a complete product, and then after 30 days, it degrades to 5 basic chart types, and you can't use the web part anymore. You have to use the gallery to view your charts. But I think you'll like it enough to get the full license. Certainly, it's a no-cost way to get started. It's very easy. We recommend you do that. So I'm going to go back to my deck. I'm going to do a little bit of a summary here now that I'm done with the demo. So some of the most important things to remember is that since it's a cloud-based product, you get updates automatically. I think that's a little bit mind-blowing for those of us who are used to working with server-side code where you have to run an installation package. You have to do it during a quiet time on the server. Sometimes you start getting errors on the server logs after you do that. It takes quite a bit of effort to install a server-side product, but this is a cloud-based product, so it comes in very easily, and you automatically get the benefits of the work that they're doing at BlackCompass. They've been generating a new graph type about every 2 months. Right now they're working on item-level visualizations, so it's sort of like little progress bars for items. I think that's going to be really cool. They're also working on enabling its use with anonymous public-facing sites because the app model doesn't work very well with unauthenticated users right now. So they're coming out with a solution for that as well. That's going to be very exciting. I think we've got some next steps for you. So I encourage you to go ahead to the BlackCompass site and take a look at their demo. I encourage you to try the app for free. I don't think that there's any risk to you. You can call Bobby to schedule a walkthrough.
Yes.
Or contact us through the, again, the blackcompass.net site. They've got an online fillable form. And with that, I think I'm going to kick it over to you and questions, Bobby.
Yeah, you know what, I'm going to quickly go over to, I'm going to go ahead and quickly go over to the BlackCompass site and allow people to kind of see what we do here. I highly encourage everybody interested in the software to first go to this demo area and just take a look at the graphs themselves. I mean, why not? If you look on the right-hand side here, it's just, by the way, I want to reiterate here, this is a very quick demo site. This is not a deep dive here in any way. All right, in other words, so let's go ahead and take a look at this bubble graph. And as you can see, you can click on things, you can see what is actually happening here. Okay, you can do that with all the charts and graphs that we provide. However, if you want to go into a deeper dive, I highly suggest you go into this Log Into Office 365 demo server area. This is basically your own private sandbox. Have fun and create as many crazy graphs as you want. It's of course there's no obligation in order to do that, of course. And of course, you know, if you want, we would always want you to go ahead and go to the 365 site and download the software yourself and trial it yourself if you prefer. Certainly, that's even a better option. However, there's a number of people that have already asked on the questions area about pricing, and our pricing is fairly simple. However, it is getting a little more complex because we've been asked to be a little more complex. What we've done at this point is we've made it so affordable. It's easy. We make it super easy. The highest price for the largest corporations, and that would be 500 plus users of any sort, is a whopping $17.5, about $35 per user. Of course, that goes down from there. However, you know, a number of companies, especially in the small to mid-sized markets, have asked us to come up with pricing for, well, I've got 5 people or 10 people that are actually going to create graphs, but I've got about 100 or 200 people that might want to actually consume them. Or I've got 2 people that are going to actually be creating graphs and charts, and I've got 50 people that want to consume them, that actually want to see them, just click on them. Well, we're coming up with pricing for that, so that it makes it a little easier, a little more palatable to the small and mid-sized markets. Either way, even as it stands right now, our pricing is very inexpensive. We make this easy. So, and then you know what? We want to make sure you are comfortable with the software. We already have over 800 clients. We have over 800 licensed out there already. How many actual users? I'm sure it goes into the tens of thousands. So, you know, this is not a pig in a poke here. This is certainly a very solid product with a solid following. And now that we're hitting North America hard, we expect this to grow exponentially from here. So. From there, I think let's go ahead and start the question and answer period. Sen Wu, yep. I am going to, the genius down under, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, okay. Thanks, Bobby, and thanks, Jeff. So we have quite a few questions here, and a great presentation, by the way. Yeah, so first, Jeff, can you talk a little bit about if my data is not in SharePoint, it's in SQL Server or Oracle database, can you talk a little bit about how do you get data into SharePoint and how do you visualize them as native SharePoint data?
Right. So BlackCompass, I'm going to quote Sen here, he separates out the idea of visualizing from analysis. So very often people have extremely large data sets that they want to visualize. And it's very important to think about preparing that data for visualization because you can't the human mind can't visualize a million data points. It's meaningless to most people. So the first step is to think about how you want to organize that data. And you saw that I had the awards by year, by office, and that had different series of data. So there was actually some analysis already done on that to create that. If you need to bring data in from another data source, there are connectors. There's a couple third-party tools that BlackCompass works closely with to make sure that they work. But there's lots of ways to get data into SharePoint. I know that SQL SSIS is one way that we use. I actually have some data sync tools. There's a bunch of other tools for bringing data into SharePoint from external sources. There's also connectors for BCS. Now, what we find with BCS is like so many Microsoft features that they put in the product, they're sort of a partial solution. External lists are dissimilar from other SharePoint lists. So there's a lot of things you can't do with them. For instance, you can't run workflows on BCS lists. So we try to avoid BCS in general as consultants. We try to replicate the data using one of these other tools. And in the case of the awards summary information, I think you need to be realistic. That data changes once a year. It gets one new row a year. So in that case, we're just doing it manually once we've set the data structure up. I think that that's a pretty good solution for 5 minutes of activity once a year. I think that that's pretty realistic. However, the large list of data that we had, the awards by year, does change frequently for about 3 months of the year. And in that case, we have a synchronization job that brings that data in. And we're happy to talk to you one-on-one about your needs, because that type of integration varies by customer a lot. There's some very standard approaches for SQL data sources. There's slightly different approaches for Oracle data sources. It's an integration thing, and there's ways of dealing with it.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. So another question, which is also quite common, is what's the support on mobile devices?
So support is very good. This is an HTML5 application. We've tested it with iPads and Android devices. It reorients correctly as if you move the screen. You're welcome to try the demo site directly on your iPad or various other tablet device. I think seeing is believing. I think it works very well. There's no Silverlight or anything in it. It's all HTML5 and JavaScript.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. So also, Jeff, can you talk a little bit about how you can leverage standard SharePoint features like views and calculated columns, and how you can visualize data from multiple lists by lookup columns? And can you just address that? If you already know how to use SharePoint, that you can already leverage the standard out-of-the-box mechanism in SharePoint to visualize multiple lists or calculated columns.
Exactly, and that's kind of the brilliance of it. So anything you can do with a list or library, you can visualize in BlackCompass. So for instance, if you wanted to have all of those different office numbers total up to total, rather than have that be a static number, you could have a calculated column that just totals them in your list. You could just, it's a simple formula to add those other columns together, and that you can visualize that total or that calculation. We do some pretty complex calculations for things. The syntax for SharePoint calculations isn't great, but you can come up with a lot of different types of things. You can actually do some statistical calculations in there as well. Bringing data in for multiple sources is done through lookup columns. So most people know that when they add a lookup column into a list, you can also project the related values. So for instance, if you brought in offices from a lookup column, you could then have the office director name projected into that secondary list where that lookup is used. And that's a little bit difficult to explain just verbally. Once you see it, it's pretty straightforward. Again, if you have that business problem, schedule a walkthrough, and we can show you how to do that. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay, I think the next question is really for Bobby. I have a question here. Can you tell me more about the licensing? I heard it's something like $35 is per year, or how does it? So Bobby, I know you already explained this, but can you just reiterate through again?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No problem. Yes, no problem. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and go back over. Let's see. Facebook here. Let me go over to BlackCompass, and you know what? I'll just kind of show it. There we go. Okay, so what we do is just go over to the pricing area, and if you're a mid to large size company, just enter the number of people you have. We actually top out at 500. Anything above 500 users. You go to your heart's content. Go up to 5,000. It doesn't matter to us. So if you see type in 500, we have a whopping total cost of $17,500. However, if you're a smaller company and you have 100 users, it's still only $3,500. Okay. Now again, what we have is we have a number of questions from people that would like to, they say, well, yeah, we have 100 users, people that will actually, but only probably 5 or 10 of these people will actually be creating graphs and utilizing the system or the software to its full extent. And the rest of the people, the other 90 or 95 people are going to be just looking at this information and utilizing it to make better business decisions. Well, with that in mind, we're creating some pricing it's going to be a little lower. It's not going to be ridiculously lower. I mean, as you see, the price of the software is low. So if you've got only 10, if you've only got 10 actual power users that might be creating graphs and charts, and another 90, all they want to do is click down on it. Well, we're coming up for some pricing for that. That's a little lower. So if that's the scenario that you have, just contact me, and certainly I'll be happy to help you.
Okay, thank you, Bobby. Okay, so next question is for Jeff. Jeff, can you have a question here is, does it support multiple web parts on the same page, and if some web parts are from another site collection or another SharePoint farm even, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, certainly. So you saw on our homepage of our SharePoint site that we had 2 visualization web parts with other web parts with a calendar and some other data, and that's pretty typical of how we set up a homepage. So you can combine this with other web parts, and we like the wiki pages, so we just use those to create our SharePoint sites usually. And what was maybe less clear.
Why don't you go ahead and share your...
Sure. So what was maybe less clear about that was, let me jump out of here, was that, let me back up to, I'm just going to go here, back to share. What was maybe less clear about that was that the review data was actually coming from a sub-site. So you saw that I pasted a URL into the web part. And this data here that's going to render in just a second is from a sub-site where we're tracking team reviews, and so it's not in this main site. But this could be a different site collection. This data point here, the 6 team members who submitted their forms, could come from anywhere because it's just a URL. As long as it's part of the same domain, there's not going to be any issues with security. It's going to allow it to look at that data, and I can have 5, 6. I can have as many as I want to. The other thing that's interesting is that these render asynchronously. So SharePoint's gotten very good in 2013 at optimizing the order that things load in. So what we find is that even if a whole page takes more than a few seconds to load, people like it better in 2013 than they did in 2010 because you don't have to wait for the whole thing to get loaded. You get one piece and then you get another. And we call that perceived performance is much better on 2013 than it was on 2010.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. One last question. Does it work with SharePoint 2003 or 2007 or 2010?
Absolutely not. The app model isn't supported in those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck. Yeah, and in those cases, we really recommend people look at their roadmap for moving forward. If you're a small shop and you're on 2007 or 2010, we are recommending most small businesses move to Office 365. Larger shops that have their own IT infrastructure, maybe their own servers, or hosting their own servers, will do on-prem or hosted SharePoint 2013 installs. My company, by policy, we support the current version of SharePoint and the previous version. We only support 2 versions at a time. So as 2015 gets ready to launch, Microsoft's working on it heavily right now. We're going to drop our support for 2010. As a consultancy, we're going to say if you've got 2010, we'll work on with you if you want to upgrade, but we're not going to do any new development on 2010. I think that's a reasonable approach because you have to move ahead in this world. Life has changed, so we embrace that.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. I think Bobby, that's all the questions we have so far in this session. Do you want to take over and do the closing? Yep.
Sure. We still have about 25 people on, and I appreciate you guys all staying to talk to us and listen.
I'm sorry, I just forgot something. The only thing I'll add to Jeff's comment is this actually supports SharePoint 2013 Foundation as well. As you know, SharePoint 2013 Foundation is a free product from Microsoft. It supports that as well, just adding to that. Sorry, Bobby, go on. Yeah.
Right.
All right, y'all. Thank you very much for attending the webinar. And if you have any questions, of course, as prior you saw, contact either myself or Priscilla.